Tonight, we have an exclusive interview with an SU Abroad student who was in Paris over the weekend.
And President Obama spoke in Turkey today. Find out what he had to say.
Plus, what new athletic center was dedicated over the weekend. Citrus TV News starts now.
From the Citrus TV studios, this is Citrus TV News live at 6, your campus news leader.
Hello and welcome to Citrus TV News Live at 6 for Monday, November 16th. I'm Topher Lim.
And I'm Claire Moran. France has extended their state of emergency, and that's our top story.
Will not destroy France because France will destroy it. Long live France and the French Republic.
French President François Hollande spoke at a joint parliament session today, declaring that France will destroy ISIS. The terror group that operates out of Syria and Iraq set off joint attacks across Paris Friday, killing nearly 130 people and injuring more than 300. Hollande also said in his speech that he would ask for Parliament to approve a bill that would extend the state of emergency for 3 months. There was a big football game here on Saturday, but also a big unveiling. SU unveiled 4 bronze statues of former football stars Jim Brown, Ernie Davis, Floyd Little, and coach Ben Schwartzwalder. The statues of the 3 famous football players are located on the campus's new Plaza 44. The plaza is named for those famous trio who wore the number 44. A statue of former coach Schwartzwalder is just a short walk away, right next to the Ensley Athletic Center. The unveiling also served as the official dedication of the new athletic facility.
Today, students and faculty gathered in front of Hendricks Chapel to show their solidarity and support for victims of the attacks in France, as well as other recent incidents of violence around the world. Attendees were invited to chalk the quad and take a ribbon to wear. Religious leaders and students read scriptures and sang songs on the steps of Hendricks. Around 150 students and faculty gathered on the quad for the event.
I think definitely there's a tendency to blame Muslims. It's truly disgusting that people think that that's an appropriate thing to do. Islam is not a religion that promotes violence. It is a religion of people, and it can't be generalized into one definition.
There were numerous SU Abroad students in Paris over the weekend during the terrorist attacks, and as of right now, all SU Abroad students have been deemed safe and back in their respective program cities.
SU Abroad student Hannah Gardner is a junior at the SU Abroad London Center, and she was in Paris at the time of the attack. Hannah, thank you for being with us tonight.
Great to be here.
So where were you in relation to the attacks on Friday?
I was actually in my Airbnb across the river from where the attacks were happening.
So were you able to leave the city after the attacks, and how long did you have to stay if you were stuck there?
We were stuck there about 24 hours. We couldn't leave. The police had alerted us that we weren't supposed to go outside. However, the next morning we saw local citizens walking around, and vigils were getting set up.
So how did SU Abroad contact the students who were traveling in Paris at the time?
Well, there was a school trip in Paris at the time. So the chaperones that were there contacted everyone that was on their trip, and then they started to reach out to students who had filled out a travel form to go there separately. So I was actually there with a friend of mine and her mom, and so we got contacted by the SU London staff in Paris to make sure everything was okay, which is really comforting because it was nice to know that they're reaching out even though we weren't their responsibility at the time.
Well, we're glad to hear that. And has SU Abroad banned any further travel to France, or have they held any meetings since the attack to talk about what might happen for the rest of the semester?
The SU students came home at regular time. There hasn't been any travel warning not to go back to France. However, with the ongoing situation, I don't think any SU students will want to go back during their time here, just because of how scary it was. And hearing the stories of all the students who had come back, it makes you not want to go back.
All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, Hannah, and we're glad to hear you're okay. The 2015 Remembrance Scholars organized a vigil for the victims of this week's attacks Sunday evening. Nick Papantonis was there and also spoke to an SU Abroad student who was in Paris Friday evening.
The music was so quiet, our microphone could barely pick it up. So were the speakers, one representing the Russian plane, another the bombing in Beirut on Thursday, and a third the Paris attacks on Friday. Events that happened thousands of miles away, but for students who came, it was a small gesture that had deep meaning.
As a citizen of the world and as somebody who has hopes and dreams just like any other human, I can relate to the loss that they suffered.
I appreciated that this event had all of the attacks that happened this weekend, not just the attacks on Paris.
It was originally organized by the Remembrance Scholars for victims of the Metrojet bombing.
Say that another plane crash carrying almost the same amount of people crashed in almost the same amount of way. Why would we not remember that in a similar way? In a similar way we remembered Phantom 103. So it just seemed like the logical and emotionally right thing to do.
Sunday, I spoke to an SU student who was in Paris just steps away from one of the attacks that took the lives of more than 120 human beings.
I would say within an hour, everything was closed. Police were everywhere. They shut down every road, every metro station, everything. And then on Saturday, it was interesting. About halfway through the day, people were out and about.
Charlotte was eating in a restaurant in the Place de la République, the same square where one of the attacks happened. She said there was a lot of fear and a lot of confusion.
Most people only have data in the UK, so we really didn't have any way of knowing besides what the French people were telling us, which really isn't much if you can't understand French. So mostly confusion until we got back to the hotel, and then a lot of fear when we realized we were within 5 or 10 minutes walking distance from where one of the attacks was.
Reporting for CitrusTV News, I'm Nick Papantonis.
Coming up, a major announcement from the governor of Alabama.
CitrusTV News will be right back.
It was a beautiful sunny day today here in Syracuse. Temperatures were in the 50s. This week, temperatures will be in the high 50s. I'll have your full weather forecast when Citrus TV returns.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Huntington! Every proper bear knows that the right fit means everything. Especially when it comes to car seats.
Oh, really? I just did what any bear would do.
So know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size.
I like it.
To learn more, visit safercar.gov/the-right seat.
Oh, hello there.
Oh, where's that bear?
15-year-old's death in Kentucky over the weekend remains a mystery. Gabriella Doolin was watching a Pee Wee football game with her mother at the local high school in Scottsville. Her mother noticed that she went missing, and police say a search began immediately. According to authorities, Gabriella's body was found in a creek behind the school just 25 minutes later. The cause of her death is still unknown. Police say they are treating it as a homicide. A manhunt is underway in Texas for 3 juvenile escaped inmates. Just after midnight on Sunday, one of the inmates, Alpharus Kobe, asked the supervising officer at the Houston Juvenile Detention Center for toiletries. Officials say when the supervisor opened the door, Kobe began to beat the officer. Kobe was able to take the officer's keys to release Jarrell West and one other prisoner. Kobe was in prison after being charged with capital murder, while West was being charged with aggravated robbery.
Hundreds of members of the Mormon Church are resigning because of new church policies. The Mormon Church declared that children of same-sex couples will not be able to join the church and be baptized until they are 18. Mormons gathered on Saturday afternoon in Utah to protest these new rules. Many of the Mormons even demanded that their names are removed from church records. The church has since received 1,500 resignations. No Syrian refugees will be entering Alabama under Governor Robert Bentley's watch. Last night, Bentley declared that no refugees have or will enter Alabama under federal refugee assistance rules. Bentley promised that he opposes any attempt to relocate the Syrian refugees to Alabama. Michigan Governor Rick Snyder is also in agreement. On Sunday, he said Michigan will also stop accepting refugees from Syria. President Obama spoke at the G20 summit today in Turkey in response to the attacks in Paris. Obama reiterated his position to not bring American troops back to the Middle East, saying how he could not bear to see more American troops killed.
Every few months I go to Walter Reed, and I see a 25-year-old kid who's paralyzed or has lost his limbs. And some of those are people I've ordered into battle. And so I can't afford to play some of the political games that others may.
The French Prime Minister says France is at war with terrorism. Police responded to the deadly terrorist attacks in Paris with dozens of raids in both France and Belgium. French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve says in just 2 days, France has arrested 23 people and detained 104 others in connection with the Friday night attacks.
French military officials launched airstrikes in response to the attacks in Paris over the weekend. Bombers continually hit the terrorist group's de facto capital, Raqqa, in Syria over the weekend. President Obama also announced a new program to streamline intelligence between the two countries. French President François Hollande said today he will create 5,000 new police and military posts within the next few years. Lebanon is holding a day of national mourning today. At least 41 people were killed in 2 suicide bombings in the capital on Thursday. ISIS said it was behind the recent attacks. Hezbollah forces are now fighting the militant group in Syria. The bombing is now considered the deadliest in the capital since Lebanon's civil war in 1990. The Lebanese Prime Minister is calling for unity.
Students will be hitting the road this weekend for Thanksgiving break.
And Citrus TV weather reporter Brittany Muller is here to tell us what to expect for your holiday travel plans.
Yes, Claire, the weather will be nice and sunny for those who are traveling for the holiday weekend. It seems like every Monday here is sunny in Syracuse. Syracuse temperatures have been in the mid-50s, which is warmer than the average at 48 degrees. Winds are out of the northwest at 6 miles per hour. And looking into tonight, we're going to be about 30 degrees, clear skies, and winds will be light. Now taking a look at the current temperatures across the U.S. They are seasonable for this time of year. And as you can see, temperatures are in the mid-60s and 50s along the northeast. And you can see there's no rain expected to come here in Syracuse, but that's not the case for further west. You can see the Midwest is going to experience about 3 to 5 inches of rain within the next 48 hours. And now looking at the Intellicast radar, you can see New York is clear for the rain, but the surrounding areas aren't so lucky. As I mentioned earlier, you can see heavy rainstorms passing through the area. And tomorrow, we're going to see a high of 53 degrees and it'll be sunny all day like it was today. And here's your weather for the week. Wednesday, 58 degrees, cloudy skies with overnight showers throughout the day and into the evening. Friday, sunny skies with a high of 49 and Saturday, cloudy with a high of 44. The weather will be nice for those traveling and heading home for the holiday.
So, Brittany, you're going to head down to sunny Florida next week. What kind of weather are you looking at down there?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be in the mid-80s, going to be nice getting out of this temperatures of being in the 50s and 60s. So it'll be a nice break from the cold weather and go home to sunny and warm Florida.
Yeah, well, we're staying here in the Northeast, so have a good time down there. When we come back, presidential candidates respond to the attacks in Paris.
All that and more on the road to 2016 when Citrus TV News returns.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
They're coming. Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
The second Democratic primary debate was held on Saturday night, and in light of the attacks in Paris, a debate over foreign policy and terrorism quickly emerged. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was quick to use her foreign policy experience to explain her take on the actions of ISIS over the weekend.
We have to look at ISIS as the leading threat of an international terror network. It cannot be contained, it must be defeated.
Both Republican and Democratic presidential candidates have shared their views on Syrian refugees and how to combat the threat of ISIS. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham expressed concerns about the terrorist group's capabilities, and former Governor Jeb Bush took a stance on global leadership.
There is a 9/11 coming, and it's coming from Syria if we don't disrupt their operations inside of Syria.
As it relates to taking action in Syria and Iraq to eradicate ISIS from the face of the earth, that should be our first and foremost responsibility. But as it relates to the refugees,
President Barack Obama spoke at the G20 summit with other leaders this weekend about the terrorist attacks in France. President Obama and Russian President Vladimir Putin also discussed future political plans for Syria in a side meeting, causing political experts to speculate on a possible Russian-American coalition against ISIS. This was a very rare, unscheduled meeting between the two leaders.
After the tragic events in Paris this weekend, CBS is changing its TV schedule this week. The network has decided to reschedule an episode of Supergirl tonight, which involved bombings and strong themes of terrorism. CBS is also switching out an upcoming episode of NCIS Los Angeles for similar content concerns. Also, in respect of the recent events in Paris, the premiere for The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 has been canceled. Part of the new movie was filmed in Paris. Lionsgate canceled the Los Angeles premiere, but will proceed with the rest of the events planned for this week. The movie starring Jennifer Lawrence and Liam Hemsworth is the final installment of the Hunger Games series. The movie hits theaters Friday, November 20th.
Coming up, another big weekend for Syracuse sports. First, the Orange football team hosted #1 Clemson at the Dome. We'll show you how the Orange fared. Plus, SU men's soccer looked to earn its first ACC title as it took on Notre Dame in South Bend, and Syracuse field hockey moves on in the NCAA tournament. We'll be right back on Citrus TV.
Jimmy can't sing, and Tommy can't dance, so we're gonna put some ants in their pants. Aww.
Kids will spend 22 minutes watching us, the super duper party troopers, sing about ants in their pants.
Isn't that funny? Ants in their pants, they got ants in their pants, they've got ants in their pants.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Cheers.
Take time to be a dad today.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Since it joined the ACC, the Orange has faced its fair share of top-ranked talent, and Saturday provided a chance for the Cuse to earn its first upset against the #1 team in more than 30 years, when Clemson dared to take the Loud House gridiron. Now, Syracuse and Clemson have taken on each other the last 3 seasons. This is the second time Clemson has been at the Carrier Dome since Syracuse joined the ACC. We go first quarter. Here's Deshaun Watson rushing it in to the end zone for a touchdown. Clemson went up 14-0 early on in the first couple of minutes. And then later on in the first quarter, Irvin Phillips takes his handoff from Zach Mahoney and runs it in 28 yards for a touchdown. Now Syracuse down 14-7. Later on, Syracuse comes back. Here comes Zach Mahoney rushing it in. He has a touchdown, and it's tied up at 14 in the first quarter. It's unbelievable. Syracuse is keeping up with the #1 team in the nation. And then Deshaun Watson, here comes his strong arm over to Deion Kane, 28-14 Clemson. That was early on in the second quarter. Later on, third quarter, it's Zach Mahoney rushing it into the end zone for another touchdown. 31-24 Clemson right there. Cuse only down 7. Cuse's last chance right here. Josh Parrish drops a Zach Mahoney pass. So it's Syracuse's last offensive possession. Syracuse loses only by 10 to the #1 team in the country, and the team was proud of their performance after the game.
We game plan well, and we do a lot of things well as a team. I just think we came out with a plan, and it didn't work how we thought, but we just had a few misplays here and there, but they're a solid team.
The thing I love about this team is we stay true to who we are, and that's a team that'll continue to play to the last whistle. And disappointed in the loss, but proud of the fact the kids played extremely hard.
Elsewhere, SU Field Hockey had no trouble with its first-round matchup against UMass at JS Coyne Stadium, and Saturday they look to earn its third Final Four appearance in 4 years as Princeton came up to the Cuse. And we'll take a look at those highlights right now. Team getting ready early, right before the game. And here they go. It is Liz Sack putting it into the back of the net for goal number 6 of the season, 1-0 SU, and that was in the first half. Later on, 27 minutes in, there's Alma Fine on the breakaway, putting the Cuse up 3-0, and afterwards, it was just all Cuse from there. Up 4-0 already, the program's all-time leading scorer, Emma Russell, puts it in the back of the net. The Cuse is prepared to move on into the NCAA tournament. They win 5-0.
We came out very aggressive. The midfield stepped up in interception lines, and that was really an improvement from the last time we played them. So that makes it really easy for the defense in the back to step up behind them. So really the whole team did a great defense. It wasn't just the 3 in the back, it was along the whole field.
We have a lot of confidence in each other. I think that's the strength of this team as well. We believe in each other, and we will keep doing that towards the next game. Of course, it's a big game, so everyone is motivated.
Meanwhile, Syracuse men's soccer became the lowest seed ever to win an ACC championship. The Orange upset Notre Dame 1-0 in South Bend, and with its efforts, the Cuse earned a number 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. The 6th seed is the highest ever for SU, and they'll take on the winner of Dartmouth and Hartwick. And interesting to note, Hartwick is Coach Ian McIntyre's alma mater before his tenure at the Cuse. McIntyre was the head man for the Hawks for the last 7 seasons prior to that, but that was in the past. And moving on to forward into the future, the Orange prepares for the NCAA tournament.
The gauntlet of games that we've had this year, we've played, I think it's 8 of the top 25 teams this year, and 6 of those have been on the road. So we've really tested ourselves, and now we take a deep breath, and then we get ready for our game on Sunday.
We're not worried about playing anybody now. We know we're good enough to compete with the best teams in the country. It's just about taking care of ourselves and staying focused and playing our game.
And Syracuse women's basketball opened its season with a nail-biting 57-54 victory over Rhode Island. With the win, 10-year head coach Quentin Hillsman improved his overall record to 190 and 100 with the Cuse. The head man is arguably the most successful in women's basketball coaches program history. And our own CitrusTV women's basketball beat reporter Ariel Epstein details a decade with Coach Q.
Head coach Quentin Hillsman of the Syracuse women's basketball team is known for his style on and off the court.
Got a lot of bow ties, got a lot of neckties.
But this season, what's in style is his 10th season as the team's head coach.
It takes a lot of time to kind of get your stamp on a program, and I think that was the biggest thing for me going into it, is trying to do that as quickly as possible.
The coach has spent the past 10 years trying to make this a reputable organization, and his players, well, they want to make sure for their coach that this year is a good one.
It's big for him. You know, when he first got here, the program wasn't where it's at, and he's definitely developed the team and the program since then. I want to make this 10th season a big one for him, and it's my last year too, so it's just trying to come out here with a bang.
Obviously, he's a really, really established coach, and he knows a lot. I think that's very good. Also, yeah, he is kind of like a father to me.
But he came to my home visit, another coach was there, and I knew from like his intensity, like the way he was, I was like, okay, I have to play for someone like this.
Under Coach Q's leadership, the team is looking for their 4th straight bid to March Madness. Reporting for CitrusTV, I'm Ariel Epstein.
Thanks, Kevin. Here's what's coming up on OTN tonight after CitrusTV News Live at 6.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple. Just like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
Drivers in Philadelphia had to share the road with some unusual companions this weekend. Zebras escaped from a circus in West Philadelphia.
Both zebras were eventually recaptured, but according to some reports, one ran almost 2 miles away from the Universal Circus, which it escaped from.
People took to social media to talk about the zebras, and even the Philadelphia police chimed in on Twitter.
The police department joked about the zebra's stripes, saying, quote, "Zebras in custody. They are already sporting old-timey prisoner getup ahead of the trial and sentencing. Have faith, fellas."
Not everyone was laughing, however. Some activists have been protesting the circus for using animal acts.
Well, that's all the time that we have for CitrusTV News Live at 6. You can catch up with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of our social media accounts at CitrusTV News. I'm Topher Lane.
And I'm Claire Moran. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night, Syracuse.